Hi, my name is Kristen Olivieri, and I'm the head of private wealth content for Markets Group. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Laura LaTourette, pronouns she, her, and founder of the Family Wealth Management Group. Thanks for being with me today, Laura.
You're welcome, Kristen. Thanks for inviting me.
So I figured we would start our conversation off with just tell me a little bit about you, your background, and how you came into the wealth management business.
Alrighty, great. Thanks, Kristen. Well, I've been in the business, gosh, almost 30 years. And so as a young woman, I decided that I was needing to get a divorce. I know that sounds awful, but I did. I wanted to live an authentic self and came out as a lesbian. So I decided that I then had to understand more about investments and retirement and all the financial things there are in the world. My former husband did a lot of that for our family, and I was coming into a new world knowing that I was going to be on my own for a period of time, raising children, and had to understand a lot more about it. And so I did. I came into the world, and then I also became a certified financial planner.
Yeah.
Being a CFP, I found the curriculum I needed to help me get into this business and find my way. So that's how I got here.
Great, that's a wonderful story. So I guess the next piece would be, I know that your practice is often centered around the LGBTQ community. How did you begin that process of building out that community for your own practice?
Well, being in the community myself, it wasn't hard to find clients, right? And I always felt like it was important to develop a practice around who I am as a person. So I could be fully authentic, I could be fully engaged with clients and have conversations. And so that's just what I did when I started adding clients to my practice, told them who I was, and they told me who they were. Most of the people in my community, if they're not LGBTQ, then they have someone in their family. So they're allies, they're advocates. So I just did it on a natural way of growing it. I'm an entrepreneur, scrappy entrepreneur. So I have entrepreneurs as well, and LGBT and strong women.
I'd love to hear that. Um, so tell me how you're organizing your internal team and approach to recruiting. And I know in the world of our last 2 years with the pandemic, things with recruiting are even more challenging than they were before. Tell me about your approach and how you view that piece of the business.
Well, again, I'm an OSJ, so Series 24, and I had a group under me prior to the pandemic. In 2014, I became a grandma. So I thought, I don't want to be an OSJ anymore. I want to do this on my own. So I moved off the reps, and then felt like it was time for me to grow again as a practice, but also succession planning. How
Mhm.
is I going to exit this business? I love what I do, but as you get older, you want to do something else a lot of times, and I do. So I decided to look around for people like me. We had already started building out to be a remote operations. So when the pandemic hit, we were already in place remote. We had a paperless office. My clients were used to meeting me, not necessarily on Zoom, but phone calls, and my clients are all over the country. Or I would go visit, or they would come here. So it wasn't hard for us to transition. And
Mhm.
then when the pandemic hit, I got on social media quite a bit, and
Mhm.
I had people come to my life who were LGBTQ and said, "How do I do what you're doing?" And I said, "Well, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing." And so I'm actually growing out more of a remote practice now. We just added our first rep, she's in Arizona. And so, we are doing the same thing I've always done. We're just doing it on a remote basis, and it is working out so well.
I think that's a really important piece because I think a lot of folks have shied away from embracing what remote is or how it can be an actual powerful tool. Um, do you have any examples of how you've tried to keep your team engaged or anything that's really worked well for you in the remote environment?
Oh yeah. Well, we meet on Zoom, or we have an IP phone system, so we can meet through that system, or we can meet on Teams. So we have three different types of video chat that we can do. We do video chat at least once or twice a week. My
Mhm.
operations team has their own meetings. I come in with overall meetings on our, compliance or whatever I'm working on. So we do a lot of video chat, of course, a lot of email. Our clients are used to reaching us also through texting because we have a business
Mhm.
texting app. So we're able to really communicate on all platforms. It has not been hard for us. I guess because also I'm flexible with my team. Some of my team works part-time because they have toddlers at home.
Mhm.
So, they give us their schedule at the beginning of the week prior, and they say, okay, next week this is when I'm going to be available, and then schedule team appointments, in between then. And then they know what they have to get done during the week. I mean, working moms are the best employees ever. So, we have not had a problem with any of that. In fact, we've grown. So it's been an exciting time.
I know we've talked about this before personally, but so many working moms, particularly, have left the workforce during the
Yeah.
pandemic. But to your point, we are the hardest workers that there is, and there's never anything that we don't finish. It just
No.
might not look as traditional as other folks' workflow might be. So I really appreciate that you are supporting the working woman and knowing that there's a place for you and there's a place for you to excel and grow.
Well, there is in all the generations, So I'm a working grandma, so I don't have little ones at home.
Yeah.
But then I've got working moms who are married. I've got working single mom, and I also have a working mom whose kids are in college. So we've got generations, and that was the other thing I did intentionally. I have people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and I'm 60s, so that we have all the generations too, because there's so much we bring in with diversity. We bring in different ideas and how to do it, and just all the things that I think make you a strong company. I don't know all those things or even know how to do them. But if I bring in other people from different areas, the women that I have brought in for my team have just created a wonderful tapestry. We get things done because we all have really good skills and we are all educated and we are all good at what we do. So we're accountable. I mean, moms are accountable and moms can do more than one thing at a time. So,
Hmm.
I don't worry about the timing of things unless if it's something that needs to be done priority, I know who to give it the project to
Yeah.
because of that, and everyone appreciates it.
And you touched upon it, the discussion on succession planning before. Tell me how you approach that. You're obviously an entrepreneur, it's your own business. And I think one of the largest trends going on in the RA multifamily office space right now is, M&A activity and people selling businesses. And a lot of times you hear from folks, well, they're selling because they didn't even think about succession planning or it wasn't something they wanted to tackle internally. Tell me
Mhm.
about how you approach succession planning and what your thought process was there.
Well, what I'm doing is looking for reps that, again, fit in my culture. They like who I am, what I'm doing. We are focusing on LGBTQ. We're focusing on how to build out even, financial coaching, something like that, that is before the investment part, right?
Mhm.
And so some of these things that might be newer to financial services, I'm saying let's build it out now. So I'm finding people who fit my culture. The other
Yeah.
thing is I'm finding people who've been in the industry for a while and want to change, want to entrepreneurship, want to learn how to build a practice because they've been maybe in a captive situation and haven't been able to fully develop their own ideas or come out in the community maybe.
Mhm.
So that's the other thing that I'm doing. Third thing I'm doing is I am aligning myself with other practitioners that need a support team, need someone to help guide them. I have built out my processes. And, we know what the prospective client process is. We know what the planning process is, what the AUM process is. So what I realized is not a lot of reps have done that. They haven't sat down and put together a real structured process. So I'm teaching my process, right, to the new reps. And then what we're doing is we are together on the business to begin with. And I'm looking at the first 3 years that I bring them on. And by then they should be able to be launched on their own. So I don't have small clients or throwaway clients or something to give them. I
Mhm.
really want to develop who they are and what they want to do and join with them in that development for the first few years with a salary, and with business, with me, so that they have a stronger foundation to starting off their practices.
And that ties in very nicely with the concept of mentorship.
Yes.
And the mentorship for anyone in any industry is completely important. And there's been lots of talk that that sort of concept of mentorship has been out the window in a remote environment. But I think what you're proving is that that's not true at all. Role of mentors are always what helps us develop our careers. How do you view mentorship? And it seems like you're working with your advisors on that. So tell me how you maybe a lesson learned or a best practice there in terms of mentoring.
Well, I've always been a mentor, in some informal relationships. I'm on the CFP board mentor program, and I've been in other women's organizations where I've agreed to be a mentor. I was a mentee when I was younger and, asked for help in different areas. So I think one of the things to do as a mentor is really ask that person that you're mentoring, what do they need from you? Because
Mhm.
different people need different things, you know. You shouldn't have just this set agenda that you teach. And there will be different areas that, on a personal as well as professional basis, you'll be able to, mentor, younger folks or peers, and so I think that that's really important to understand, what do they need? What do they need from you? Sometimes it's just validation. If they think that they should do something this way, or they don't quite have the self-confidence, but if they talk to someone who's got confidence in that area, they can step up to the plate and really do what they want to do. So sometimes I see that a lot of it is just building that personal self-awareness, building confidence, and then the educational part is, how do we do that process? How do we actually bring business in, keep business, and then serve business? And so that it's also on you've got that personal aspects of people, but also you've got to make sure you're a profitable business. So I kind of blend them. We have phone calls. We do have video chats. We've got formal meetings. We have informal meetings. I'm not like available 24/7. I'm good with my boundaries and help teach them that as well. If they're working on a Saturday, as long as they haven't, worked 80 hours a week, that's okay. But if they have worked 80 hours a week and they have no time with their family, I have a talk with them about that.
Yeah.
So I think mentoring is about, how can I inspire this person to be who they are and get to know who they are as a person, and really come to the world with what they want to do, to be productive and you know and good at their job. Just who are they? What do they want to do, rather than what do I want to teach them?
And that probably just takes strong communication and developing a personal relationship with those people, which obviously those skills will help in business, as they do that on the client side. But I think to your point, teaching things like boundaries and time management, right? And that
Mhm.
that helps us all in our day to day, which is something I think people do struggle with in the remote working environment. The time management, when to call it quits, but also being, to your point earlier, high working women or working moms. It doesn't always look in the same box for every person. So
Mhm.
setting those boundaries and time management are things that really help. Um, so we're just about out of time today, Laura, but anything in terms of, we've covered a lot of topics here. We've covered, your niche market, the LGBT community, and building that out. We've covered succession planning and building a firm culture, as well as the role of mentorship. Any sort of final thoughts that you would like to discuss today?
I think if anything, I could tell my fellow advisors would be to trust the future. This younger generation, they are so strong, they're so smart, they're so capable, not just of doing your IT or social media marketing or something, or just talking to their generation or the heirs. I think that they're really vibrant, and I am so excited for our future because the diversity that is coming into our financial services industry or financial planning profession is really strong, and they're working together, they're networking a lot, and I see our future's bright because of the talent that's coming in. So I would say, embrace the future, figure out how you're going to do your succession now. I wouldn't wait. I've got 8 years and I'll be 70. So I'm hoping to have this whole thing, locked up and bow on it and go do something else. But, I'd say don't be afraid of the future. It's a bright, strong, shiny future.
Thank you. That's a beautiful sentiment, and I love ending with a hopeful note. So thank you so much for your time today, Laura.
Thank you, Kristen. I really appreciate you inviting me.